Hello there, Commonwealth realm here. Ganondorf is a cunning and ruthless military commander, one who sees conquest as his ultimate goal and punishes those who work against him. Case in point, Ocarina of Time, where we see how Ganondorf discriminates and oppresses different races and individuals based on his preferences. The main allies of the Hylians, the Gorons and the Zora, are either eaten alive or frozen for their defiance. Turn the clock tens of thousands of years forward, and Ganondorf, after clearing out central Hyrule, is ready to once again force his will, only this time he has a weapon that might bring the end of the few surviving settlements. The key to it all is seamlessly unlimited power of Malice, which you have already seen can raise up Hyrule Castle to new heights. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe, press on notification bell and all that good jazz, because it's time to go over how Hyrule might not remain Malice free for long.
Calamity Ganon was defeated. The malice was gone, but then it all changed when Link and Zelda reached the King of Evil, who activated Beast Mode. Ganondorf really turned the tables and at least tried to get the high ground until Link was able to reach the Sky Islands. Even so, it doesn't apply to Hyrule, which is now vulnerable to malice as their princess is most likely trapped, either deep underground or within Ganon's Castle. And from here, much like King Roam looked down and planned the defense of his kingdom in Age of Calamity, Ganondorf could launch his malice attacks, which wouldn't be anything new. But with the high ground, it will be far easier to target locations which did not have the same priority 100 years ago. Back then, it was all about corrupting and controlling the ancient Sheikah Guardians on the ground, the pillars surrounding the castle, and obviously, the 4 mobile divine beasts, each strand enough to take down the Zora, Goron, Rito, and Gerudo champions in one-on-one duels. And this was through individual blights from the puppet, Calamity Ganon. Now imagine what an unleashed, after tens of thousands of years, furious King of Evil is capable of.
Targeted destruction. In other words, raising the castle with disgusting amounts of malice isn't only a defensive move to keep your seat secure from a climbing, paragliding and waterfall surfing expert, but also an offensive one. The high ground. A power that has been clearly demonstrated in Star Wars by Obi-Wan Kenobi, but is also an ability that requires knowing what you're doing. Up to now, Ganondorf has not been taking full advantage of the high ground. Yes, making it impossible to reach the castle right away after gaining the Master Sword is a nice defensive move, but he hasn't used the offensive nature of the high ground until he stood face to face with Link when he liked to levitate above him, both in his own and a far more attractive figure. Joking aside, Ganondorf has never used the high ground to attack Link and his allies simultaneously from his castle. Though it can be questioned what Ganondorf's motivation is this time around, well, apart from rage-induced vengeance, one target has remained constantly in his mind, namely Link. Already 100 years ago, he used the Guardian Stalkers to target Link, not Zelda, and this aim continues as Ganondorf knows that the only way to win and not be finished himself is by defeating the hero before Link will be able to do the same against the King of Evil. In Ganondorf's mind, the princess only has to be contained or used at some point. Link, however, is the real threat. What is closest to him? The settlements and people who aided him on his quest after waking up from the Shrine of Resurrection.
Kakariko Village, Hateno Village, Zor's Domain, Goron City, Rito Village, Gerudo Town, Lorellan Village, and the settlement he contributed to constructing, Tarrey Town. All places that are near and dear to Link and which up to now have been safe havens from monsters and malice attacks. You probably have guessed where this is heading, but after possibly already dealing with the Great Deku Tree and Korok Forest first, it could be the other settlements' turn to be targeted next as we progress our way through the sky. If sealing Ganondorf back in the day was a collaboration of all of Hyrule's races with the Zonai of Faron making the ultimate sacrifice, then who do you think Ganon will go after now, after dealing with all but 2 Hylian villages 100 years ago? The homes of the other races that opposed him. Now, with the high ground of his castle, he might be unstoppable from dropping his forces and malice onto these settlements. Here you have the premise for a far darker Zelda title than Breath of the Wild could ever dream to be, where you have to save your closest friends who are not spirits like the champions we liberated, but living, breathing individuals. Cutscenes of fire and despair are realized at last in a gameplay scenario in a Legend of Zelda game 25 years after entering the burning Kakariko village in Ocarina of Time.
Safe havens on fire and filled with monsters manifested by Ganondorf taking advantage of the high ground and sending heavy pieces of malice onto or near settlements. A battle to save what we hold dear and adding another layer to the determination we'll have as we finally confront Ganondorf since he escaped from us underground. It is just that destroying settlements doesn't really matter to Ganondorf unless Link is in them and falls as a result of defending the civilians. Just like he almost died when protecting Princess Zelda in front of Fort Ateno 100 years ago. Ganondorf knows that kindness, honor, and duty is the hero's weakness, and thus targeting his allies is a better strategy in order to lure him in and strike him down, without having to confront him personally. Immense cruelty that the hero cannot ignore, and if it fails the first time, then continue doing it in settlements around Hyrule, all to hopefully lead to his fall and the end of opposition to the resurrected King of Evil's rule. Which brings me over to why Age of Calamity was suggested to Koei Tecmo by the Zelda team in the first place. They wanted to take advantage of it in the development of Breath of the Wild's sequel.
And that is the point. Age of Calamity was primarily made to explore gameplay scenarios and possibilities, not to tell the tragic story 100 years ago. The Zelda team does this all the time. Obviously, Nintendo remakes old games to make more money until the next Zelda title is ready. But for the Zelda team, it is an excellent opportunity to return back to 3D Zelda titles of old and take inspiration from the best elements in them. In this case, we should not underestimate the impact that Age of Calamity and Skyward Sword HD will have on Breath of the Wild 2. The Skyward Sword influence is loud and clear. Age of Calamity's, at least for now, less so. But then again, the surface of Hyrule just looks too nice despite new monsters in its fields and hilly areas. Also, in the September 2021 Nintendo Direct, we saw how the final DLC pack for Age of Calamity will focus on battles and settlements, specifically the neighboring Kakariko and Koponga villages. Obviously, what we are suggesting throughout this video of settlement invasions outside of Hyrule Warriors is a theory. Then again, defending, saving, or liberating the settlements from monsters sent through Ganondorf's malice is something fresh and innovative, even when it is an evolution of the save the settlements from monsters formula introduced in Ocarina of Time's Kokiri Forest, and then brought back when you play as a wolf in Twilight Princess. This gameplay style could really make us far more involved and offer many scenarios which doesn't even have to be linear.
The way this could work is that each non-linear dungeon you complete is tied to Ganondorf targeting and attacking a specific settlement. This way, it doesn't necessarily have to be Kakariko Village, Hatena Village, and so on in that particular order, but an objective not so different from locating the memories, but with far more action involved before having a cutscene. Many complain that the memories lack the same weight as you didn't have any gameplay sequence preceding them. Well, Age of Calamity fixed that with an introduction cutscene and then an aftermath cutscene after the battle, which is a formula that I believe could work great in the sequel as Ganondorf sets his aim at his enemies, the settlements, to lure in Link and hopefully take him down there, just like he almost accomplished with that Guardian Stalker 100 years ago. The one feat that Ganondorf has only been able to achieve in one outcome throughout all of the Zelda games: winning. We in return get an innovative and deeply engaging set of action gameplay missions, which will have a much higher tension and weight attached to it, since it 1. Takes place right in front of us and we are impacting its outcome in the present, and secondly, we're defending the friends we know and love since 2017, making it far more personal, adding weight and build up to what will likely transpire in and throughout the castle, when Ganondorf will no longer be the hunter targeting settlements as he sees fit, but be hunted by Link. And that is our theory on Ganondorf's targets in Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, with a potential surface gameplay system that will make us greatly involved in the continued fight for its still standing strongholds, those which Ganondorf didn't manage to reach after taking out central Hyrule settlements and Akkala Citadel 100 years ago. But still, it will be up to our gameplay skill to save the main settlements in the other provinces that escaped the calamity. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a comment, like, subscribe to the Commonwealth Realm, and press the notification bell to not miss any upcoming videos starring me, Conrad, and my new co-host Cornel Crits. Finally, as always, a big thanks goes to all our great patreon.com/CommonRealm patrons, and in particular to royal producer Charles Shush. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.